So, our topic for today is going to be all about complex genetics topics. So, codominance is where we have two dominant alleles for the same phenotype. And when they're present in an organism, they're both going to be expressed. This doesn't mean that there are no recessive alleles, because there are. It just means that when there are both dominant alleles in an organism, both will be expressed. An example of this is roan coloration. This is a combination of white and red, and they're both dominant alleles. So we're going to see both expressed in the offspring. An example in humans is blood types. This is kind of important because blood types, for the most part, cannot be, you can't donate to individuals that don't share your blood type, with some very specific exceptions. So type A blood can either be homozygous or heterozygous. And type B blood can either be homozygous or heterozygous, because the A and B alleles are both dominant. So when we get an individual where they inherit both A and B alleles, both are going to be expressed. We also have a recessive allele, which requires two copies to be expressed. So here's what that kind of means. Blood type A means that you make a specific type of protein on the surface of your red blood cells. We call that antigen A. You also make an antibody. We call it anti-B. And if you look at the antibody here for anti-B, it looks like it fits onto antigen B, and it does. The purpose of this antibody is to protect against foreign invaders. It's kind of like a security system. So when you are exposed to a cell or a virus that has B-shaped proteins on the surface of its cells, these attach and alert your immune system to come and kill this invader. But it means we can't mix these two types of blood, because the antibodies in one will kill the red blood cells in the other. And this can cause some serious problems, because if a patient gets the wrong type of blood, that means their blood will clot, and it can actually destroy tissues, which can cause organ failure, and that can lead to death. In type AB individuals, they have both proteins on the surface of their cell. That means they don't make either antibody, and because of that, they're called the universal recipient. That means they can take any type of blood, because their immune system isn't going to attack, because it recognizes both antigen B and antigen A. Type O blood does not have any proteins on its surface. It only has antibodies. Those antibodies are for both type A and type B. Because type O blood has no proteins on the surface, it can be given to any individual, because those individuals' immune systems won't attack a red blood cell that doesn't have any proteins on its surface. So this is why blood types can be very, very important. But make sure you understand, type O can only have type O blood. Type B can only have either A or B, because it needs to make sure it has those B proteins. And then type A can only have type A blood, because it has to make sure that it does not contain those B antigens, those B proteins. Here's what a cross looks like. We use the letter I to represent the allele itself and then indicate which dominant allele is present by using superscripts. Polygenic. Polygenic are pretty simple. They're just traits controlled by more than one gene, like hair color, skin color, eye color, height. All of those are polygenic. You can recognize them because they have a wide range of phenotypes. So you still get just 2 alleles for each gene, but depending on the combination of alleles for each gene, you can have different expressions. So some more examples of what this would look like, some more practice if you're not quite sure you understand. Incomplete dominance. So, in incomplete dominance, what happens is the heterozygous individuals look like a mixture of the other 2 homozygous phenotypes. So here, red, and here, white. We generally use 2 different letters, so this would be like capital R, capital R. This would be WW. And then when they mix, all of their children get just 1 copy of each allele, which means they express both and they have this pink phenotype. But despite the fact that it looks like a mixture, remember, these are still alleles combining. So we can still have the original phenotypes back were we to even cross 2 pink individuals, because we could get that R allele back twice and that white allele back twice. So kind of an example of this. You have a red individual and a white individual, and all of their offspring would be pink. But if we cross 2 pink, one of the offspring would get both R alleles, one would get both white alleles, and then 2 would get this combination. Our next topic is sex-linked traits. These are traits that are carried on the X chromosome. And because of that, there is a difference in the rate of expression between males and females. One of the examples that is most commonly known is color blindness. Color blindness is found on the X chromosome, and it is much rarer for females to be colorblind because it requires that they inherit both copies of color blindness from one from each parent in order to express color blindness. But males only get 1 X chromosome from their mom. And so whatever is on that X chromosome, they are going to express it. Here's another one. This also talks about what a carrier is. Remember, a carrier is an individual that doesn't express a trait but has the allele for it. Generally, we use this term as it relates to genetic disorders. The next one is X chromosome inactivation. This is where females have to turn off 1 X chromosome randomly throughout their body because they have 2 copies of it. They don't need to express both copies, so 1 randomly gets turned off. So this is how we get calico cat expression. So in calico cats, we have both black and orange. Both are dominant, so each will be expressed randomly as the cells in each spot turn off an allele. So here in the orange sections, the black allele's been turned off. Here in the black sections, the orange has been turned off. This is why you often hear that calico cats can only be female. Now, you can have XXY male calico cats, but they won't be fertile. They couldn't make offspring. Then we have epistasis. This is what albinism is. It acts to switch off other traits. So this